Good.
You ready?
Yeah.
So you have to know it's kind of this days where Greg says, "Hey, can you demo it?" And I say, "Yes, why not?"
Yeah.
So I'd say maybe during this demo, because you have the platform ready, you're using the technology, so you know probably most of these things. But just from the discussions before, and also when we talk to Greg, more on a higher level typically, I'd say there are some features that you're not using today. Some maybe because there are some technical limitations currently, because we cannot access from Germany or Europe in general. We have a specific security environment for you guys, but it's on a roadmap to fix that. But I think also other features, they are there, and maybe it's just a question of how can we set this up in order to make this work for you. And because we had already, when you talked about finding people in your system, connecting the Active Directory, seeing who's working where, how can I find someone with a certain expertise or whatever. I don't know if you know the expert map already. If so, please let me know.
Nope, they don't. They won't. And just I will set some additional context. So
Please.
so think about there's two ways to think about the platform, the capability. One is what I call use case, which is I think about like if I'm a carpenter and I have a bag of tools, what can you do? And I can be like, I can build you a bookshelf, or I can install Windows, or like there's things that we can do to meet your needs. But I'm using my bag of tools to get that work done, and I'm an expert in what I do. So I'm not going to do plumbing for you. I'm not going to do electrical. So I'm not going to build stuff on SharePoint. But these are the things that I can do with my bag of tools. And so what we're going to do is we're going to demonstrate some of these tools, and then we could always map that back to a use case. So for example, the idea map, the expert map that Fabian is showing would enable us to search for users on the platform, search by fields that we can define, so skills, expertise, areas of interest, job roles, or whatever, and find them, maybe find them anywhere in the planet because we have a global workforce. And that could be that we're trying to build a team to work on a project, or it could be that we're looking to have a discussion about RPA or about FOD, right? Like we discussed earlier. So this is a function on the platform. So we're going to go through a couple of these functions, and as Fabian said, there's some things that we might demonstrate that require additional licensing because there's an additional cost to operate those things. And then there's some cool things based on Innosabi's new ownership with, well, it's not super new, but their ownership under Castell that we're also looking at doing down the road. So okay, go ahead.
Correct. And I mean this innovation map, expert map, however you want to call it, actually, like Greg just explained. Seeing, I mean, as soon as we fix the network issues, that I have the map, I can track who's sitting where, what are they doing, and you see when I click on people, or they will be aggregated. I can actually see, okay, what's the location on the left side? You see who are those people, and also you can define which information is displayed. And even I could put any keyword in here or just use all filters that are also predefined by the administrator. So it really depends on what competencies you store, because you maybe connect your Active Directory, or I hope you know that you can add other competencies on the system as well, right? Using either our registration survey to collect them or just put them in over time when you run challenges or whatever. Or just ask the user to put it into their profile, right? And then you can use these as filters to find people from different expertise departments, whatever it is. And this, I mean, we see Siemens using it very heavily, and you have to imagine they have around about 200,000 people on this map, and it's for them it's really interesting because sometimes you don't want to wait. When you post a request for a project or for someone to help you with a solution, you can just go out, and when you find someone, you can just click on them and contact them. And that's maybe linked either to the email or directly to the Teams chat, and you jump into the chat with them, right? And it's really about, I mean, I don't want to always wait until someone is recognizing that I need expertise. It's like I can go out and find the people I need, right? So this is all about the expert map. And I just want to point that out, Greg. I don't know if the global search is...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It works.
active.
Yeah.
So it's also connected, right? So you could find people just typing into the global search, right? So again, it will search through the competencies that you put into your system. And the cool thing about the global search as well is I now put in innovation and I found all these people because I knew they have something like innovation there, but I could also just say Innovat and just put a star because we use operators that you find in databases. So you can even put in any keyword and use those operators to make it very fuzzy, but then you will get all people that kind of have something to do with it. And that's pretty nice to combine two of them. So the global search and the expert map, when this is kind of a situation that you see users end up in, right? Who's the one I should talk to for this specific thing? Or maybe I just want to find people that join me on my team or whatever it is. Right? And because we mentioned that already, and I know that might be up to the restrictions that we currently have because of the security, which is the semantic analysis, right? It goes a little bit hand in hand with the global search because it's kind of also based on that. But to display this, I think that's currently not available. But what is this all about? So I'm just jumped to the back end, so that's where the admins can basically view anything that's happened on the platform. In this case, I jumped to the general discussions, so the overview of all submissions that you have in your system. But it works the same within a project, so I could also jump to a project and see also those submissions. And what's the idea of the semantic analysis? You see, like, we have clusters, right? This one, for example, it's electric vehicle. It's connected to all the other keywords here, and when I hover over it, you see how often is it mentioned on the platform, and we try to track really, okay, what are the keywords that your community is talking about? What are the topics that are interested in? Or we have solar energy in this case, right? And I could just click on it, and then my list will be filtered. You see, it will be used as the filter criteria, and then again, this analysis is loaded again just based on what I filtered before. So I can dig deeper into the topic and see, okay, what is my community talking about, right?
Always keep in mind this is just demo data. Same for the expert map. Usually the expert map, if you open that, it pops up with millions of blue dots, and then you dig in, then you have the first layer of blue is then erased, and you see lots of points everywhere. And either you try to find people with a certain expertise where you are right now, or you try to figure out who has a certain expertise, no matter whether they're in the same country or somewhere else in the world. So the main idea is that because innovation happens between the content that is going to be created, the people that drive the content because of their knowledge, their expertise, their vision, how they want to change the world. And then of course we have outside factors like money, time, and so on. And if that comes together, then innovation is really happening. But most of the tools, they miss the people thing. They miss the thing, where do I find the relevant knowledge? And in best case, this is limitless. So innovation methods and expertise is what we have listed here, and department. But you could have everything, like hobbies, because if you ask people to contribute in their hobby area, they are highly motivated. Experience they have done or learned maybe before, things they have studied in the job before. So in best case, you really try to grasp the whole person with the whole expertise, and then it's very valuable. Same for the expert map. It's just a glimpse of what is possible, because the more data you have, the more valuable it gets, and it's available on the whole platform level, what Fabian showed us, but as well in each and every project. So wherever we collect data, we can build the graph.
Correct. And I think, I mean, the other question then, when you use the platform, you want to know what are your users doing, so what are their expertise, etc. You want to create content like from your side, but also you want to catch the content that's coming from your users. And you know, probably the challenge is you have something like the open call, I guess, right, where you use the workflow to create this process of who's evaluating the submissions at what point, and have the A steps process, right? What we see, for example, again, I think Siemens Healthineers in this case is doing it. They use other types of displays in order to make visible what are the topics we work on, right? So actually they use a radar chart for that we have built in. I will jump to another topic. In this case, it shows startups, but you can make it any object. Like for Siemens Healthineers, is there key technologies they want to focus on and they want to develop in, right? And then beneath that, you will find the different challenges that are linked to it. And you can build such radar charts with it. Again, in this case, it's startups. So it's like a submission coming in and someone has to rate it against evaluation criteria that you have. In this case, I will just stick with the innovation degree. So everything that's close to the middle is kind of rated more innovative. And then you have different levels and also different dimensions you could include, right? Like status, in this case, yeah, let's stick with it. It's like in evaluation or already in post-processing. And also the potential is radius. And you see those could be different technologies, could be different topics, whatever you want to display there. And the cool thing is about this radar chat, in the beginning when we developed this, it was just the question, okay, we have so many different topics hovering around and we could use the initiatives to make them visible. But sometimes you want to have just one, at one screen, seeing kind of your portfolio, right? And therefore, we thought maybe the radar chart would be a better choice because then again, you can use those levels that are based on the data you put into your technologies or whatever, and you can drill down, like, I now want to see everything that is in fintech in this case and go to the next level. So the idea is, what is your portfolio? What are you working on in general? And the cool thing here, you saw the semantic analysis sitting in the backend, right? So it's for everyone who has access to the backend. But radar chart is sitting in the front end, so you could make this visible to your community. And again, depending where you put it, in this case it's part of an initiative, or you make it part of a challenge or whatever, you can decide who has access to it and can view it, right? And that's.
And so, Jim, if I'm getting this right, either in step 5 or 6, it's the countermeasures component, right? Is that in the 8-step process? Where do you develop step 5? So as an example, this is potentially a market research step that somebody could take to say, before we try to build this on our own internally, is there anything in the market that could potentially fulfill this need? And now I'm gonna pick on this team for a second, not to pick, but just to use an example. You know, we could have said, before we build our own tool for this thing, let's go do some market research. Or maybe we did, but like, you know, sometimes market research is just Googling and seeing if anybody does it, right?
Yeah,
This
pretty much what it is.
right. So it could be that number one is you've done the market research and use something like this and validated that there is actually no better solution than what you can build internally, or that building internally is the right way to go because you're going to get the solution exactly the way you want it. But you can at least say, hey, I did this extra step of research to validate that, you know, I didn't miss some obvious solution that we could have just purchased on the dime, right?
Yeah.
Or
It's
and
making
again,
sure that your report isn't biased data.
yeah.
You can do it by
Yes.
function, you can do it by process.
Yeah.
I think what is important that this is an API enhanced feature. So we are connecting to existing databases like Crunchbase, importing the data, and this is always tricky with second front or with the governmental hosting. But for tools like Insight, you never saw Insight.
Yep.
This is a tool where you have way more analysis capabilities. We're using existing databases, and therefore it's not stored within the governmental data center, and there's no need to because you never have to import data. So you just have access to a data. It's similar to Googling around, but on all patent databases, they even translate in English if they're in Chinese or Japanese. All startups, all universities, research papers, cyber contracts, Horizon 2020, clinical studies, if of interest.
See, I've been asking for that because Jeff and I were talking about after action reports for drip reports and how some organizations do and don't, but people ask, well, are you going to go to this conference, say like Rodeo or whatever it is, and like half of DC went down to Rodeo. There's no reason why our whole office needs to go down there. If everybody were to do after action reports and we had a campaign where people uploaded their after action reports or their area university thesis papers into GAIN and we created those campaigns, we had semantic analysis, we would no longer be authorizing master's thesis papers on the same topic we've had 50 thesis papers on before. But I don't have an example of this with Air Force data to help me show this capability to the department and say we need to invest in this because I see the value in it. This demo is better than.
So what's crazy about this is that not only could you filter some search, so again, you're doing some market research analysis about solutions, and you go, okay, we're not gonna look for anything that's made in China, for this solution, because whatever. But you could reverse that too.
Yeah.
You could be like, what's happening
Yeah.
in areas that we want to keep an eye on as we assess our own
That's
capabilities.
counter threat, yeah, that's,
Yeah.
yeah. Then talking, yeah. So you brought up, and this isn't necessarily for you all, but it's for SharePoint and for the crowd vector technology. One of the growing threats that I see with the department is, so they've moved, they're moving, the visa process. They're moving the immigration indoctrination process.
Naturalization.
Thank you. They're moving the naturalization process to BMT, basic military training, in San Antonio, because our recruiting and retention is at such an atrocious rate that, I joined the military because my dad was in the military, my grandfather was in the military. That was by generational, cultural desire to serve my country plays a large part of that. Now we're not even into that generational pull to serve in the military. So the 1%ers is now the less than the 1%ers. And so with the Afghanistan airlift, we saved a lot of our allies by bringing them to the United States. And they're all sitting down in camps down in Texas. And they're going, I'll serve the United States military because they saved me and my family. And so I see something that the department, I've not seen any conversations on, that I think that we could get ahead of now that I want to plant the seed in our organizations, is those that are coming through BMT, that are going to be the senior NCOs, the lieutenants, the captains, the next leaders, are going to be multilingual. And I have not seen any translation technology to translate innovation or any kind of words or Air Force policy into the different types of linguistics and we're going to be in a really bad position because I'm not multilingual. Most of the air staff is not. She's a triple threat. But a large part of our force isn't. So is there a capability, maybe in SharePoint, that maybe, I don't know, it's a feature that maybe y'all can investigate too, but these are things that we need to start researching now to start, because I saw that your intake form was in Latin, and I think that's like a default Latin code, right?
Right, yeah.
But where is it in Spanish? I know Mary Moore.
So are you asking if we have multi-language capability?
Can it do that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I think the standard is right now 12 languages.
Yeah.
Increasing another language is.
And
takes
we
a
need
couple
that,
of
but
days.
especially with SSG,
top
our work
12.
with our
You have English,
allies.
German on one of these, right?
But for our policy and our training line on that route as well,
So
we've got to start.
So we need to research that as a requirement, but yes,
It's a
there's
growing concern.
multi-language capability on the crowd vector.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It's that you can set up the platform in different languages, but also the user-created content, it's translated on the fly. So when people are logged in and the browser language is Spanish, they will always have the translation button on next to a comment, next to an idea, whatever it is. Click on it, and also the user-generated content is translated using whatever translator you want to choose, but let's choose DeepL right now, and it will be translated, but the database will always keep the original value, so you will have no bias.
For that we need to dig in, because this is again an API enhanced feature.
Yeah.
But there are tools on the market to have offline translation, so
Yeah.
on-site translation, they work pretty well.
I mean,
With best
Facebook has that
quality.
at a minimum,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
trusty
Yeah.
translation.
We just can't have the data leave.
Need, but it's a growing, like,
Yeah.
we should start building that.
We just
already
can't have the
had
data
a-
leave the platform to get translated before it comes back.
Exactly.
Is the key.
But we already had a tool in place a couple of years ago, and they worked pretty well.
Yeah. So that was Startup Radar. I have these guys for a few more minutes. So we did expert map, Startup Radar,
Semantic analysis.
semantic analysis, trend.
Yeah, we can talk about trends.
Let's do prototype.
Oh, prototype.
Prototype is
For
what-
sure. So the main idea was, I mean, we did a twofold, right? Jan can tell you lots of stories about prototype testing where we really send out prototypes to people and have them testing, I don't know, nail polish or whatever, and send it back, etc. But of course, maybe today we see more often the digital prototype testing. So it's basically setting up a project where you already have a prototype in place, but of course, prototype is not like it's 80% done. It's more like it's as good as you can present it to someone so they can give you feedback, right? So don't put too much effort in it. And then you can link it directly. For example, in this case, if it's a digital prototype, you could even embed it in the platform so people can have this click dummy here so they can click around even. And that's, I think, in Vision could be Figma or whatever tool you build your prototypes in, right? They can really have the experience, and then they say, okay, please give us your feedback directly after you click through the prototype. And then you can collect it again on the platform. You have it in all in one database. So when you report later, everything is connected, and then even you could have a phase 2 to this project or phase 3, like iterating on the prototype and make it visible, so what's happening and what's changed, or maybe pick from the first phase the target group that was heavily engaged and gave qualified feedback, and maybe pick them for phase 2 because you saw that maybe those are the heavy
You're
Mm-hmm.
taking
users.
the pairwise or the token voting type concept. Your keywords where you have all the data in one place,
Mhm.
and that's what if I were in a buying mode, which I'm not authorized for that, but I'm listening and I see the value of the prototype from like productive things on the C-suite or even ideas that are on the GAIN open topic where if they were a prototype, you could link like that video that Joe Crady was saying, hey, can we just get a video of what it is, but they can click through it and give that feedback within the same platform.
So what he's demonstrating here is like a designer's UX.
Mhm.
So you go into one of these UX tools like Figma or
Yeah.
InVision,
Mhm.
and you give them a clickable. So we're design a new PCS app, or put it here first as wireframes, and then we want your direct feedback. Like, what did you like? Was the color the right way? Did it flow? What ideas or feedback do you have? Let's take the SharePoint project. We should give it. Does it have a name? So I don't keep calling-
The A3 project.
the A3 project process. Okay. So here's a way where these two universes also could support each other. So we've done this in other environments where we're working a project, and in the innovation platform, we spin up a challenge, and that challenge has two features. One is it's tell us what give us feedback or report issues or whatever, and you can just give them essentially like a support tool to do that. But you could also have another channel that says, what other ideas do you have? Like, oh, wouldn't it be, because you always get the epiphany. It's, oh, wouldn't it be great if your thing could do X, Y, and Z? Or I'd love it if you could do this. And so you can actually give your users the ability to ideate with you as you start to develop. So you create these ideation loops inside the project. So right now, this is the best of what you could come up with based on your knowledge and experience and Joe's crazy brain. And now, when you start to move to user input mode, you start to get the feedback of the community, and you're building a community around your product, right? So now we could create an initiative page for A3. We could have challenges. We could have feedback section. We could have an FAQ. We could build that all in the product, and never, step on the toes of the A3 application as a standalone product. Now we've created synergy between these things.
And that's pretty much, I
Okay.
think, what Dave and I have been talking about with
Yeah,
the
we have articles.
the PML, and
Yeah.
because really when we think about it, and we'll talk about it a little more, it's really our NPO value stream.
Yeah,
So if we understand that and we start creating our products around that,
Yeah.
then the NPOs, the PMs, the lean PMs and PMs get to see how to use this and improve their own
Yeah.
NPO value stream.
yeah. So on GAIN, we could have an initiative page around the Black Belt program or around the Belt program. And there's
There you go.
articles, there's training, there's events in person or virtual events. And by the way, here's also a link to our A3 application. Here's our site where we have an FAQ, so people. So I love Quora. So like it's a Quora-like site where people can ask questions and community members can respond. Hey, I'm having this problem, I'm doing this thing. Oh yeah, go do X, Y, and Z. Or oh, it doesn't do that yet. So again, we're building the ecosystem community wrapper around this internal application. And so we're not fighting for that space any longer. What we're doing is we're supporting the effort and making sure that that application now evolves and becomes the best thing it can be
I think
without
essentially
getting in the way.
that's how I see things. Joe was asking about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I
Now,
think.
I still say, you know, maybe everything you're doing in A3 can be done in game, but you know, just by seeing the demo, I'm not, that wasn't super obvious to me.
Yeah.
And it looks like you put in a lot of work, and that we'd have to re-engineer a whole bunch of stuff to probably make that work. So like, I'm not even close to interested yet, right? So I'd much rather that we just help make that better, as opposed to trying to kill that project and transition it into another application that you'd have to put similar effort in to make it
And
happen.
again, that because Joe's more comfortable with the data staying on that SharePoint side.
Yeah. Mhm.
Not just Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I was.
So, do we cover everything, or do we have anything else to cover?
I think I have something which can be quite interesting.
What?
Most of the limitations or most of the new features here are based somehow on external data we connect and bring in, right? So I'm not quite sure whether you're aware of the fact, but we have the possibility to connect the Gain platform and the Efforts platform on data level. So that if you use the global search here, for instance, we can search
I think we can.
all data and all additional connected platforms. We can even connect to additional data sources and make that searchable. The main tricky part about that is we need to figure out how to handle that within the second front hosting. But let's say outside of the whole defense industry, this is quite common. So Siemens has several platforms; they are all connected, and if you want to search for the first idea, need, and so on, you search with the global search the whole content of all innovation platforms worldwide, and then it shows up. This is an idea coming from a supplier. This is an idea coming from a B2B customer, internal idea, and then of course next step is to decide: do I want to reach out to the supplier or rather to my customer? And then innovation starts again.
Let me
Yeah.
follow up on that then. For example, like in Siemens, how do they manage to really improve a specific process around that? So they have very good process models, I would imagine, with index resource consumption.
No, they are rather flexible, but they centralize all innovation activities. So everything which is important to steer innovation is centralized. So they define the boundaries and where we want to go. And then innovation on an operational level is decentralized. You have lots of individual smaller teams, 4 or 5 people teaming up, working together on innovation, but they have to be aligned with the overall innovation strategy. And this is the job of the corporate technology team. And right now, worldwide, they are up to 140 people working for innovation supporting. It's a lot.
Yeah.
But they run innovation
I think we
inside
have
of the
5,
organization.
extended team.
But they do it inside of Siemens and outside as well. So including all suppliers, academia, students, startups, and so on. And it's a lot.
So this is where I think where it's like, yes, and can you do that if we were to take that once we figure out the configuration in second front to connect AFMC Tech Connect, Vision, Open Call, anything and everything else that's out there, what we call GAIN, right? To do that keyword search to find the innovations, and then can you apply the semantic analysis on top of that? Or is the limitation set to, okay, we found these things, but now you're going to have to go to these websites and go do your research on yourself. Can we do the semantic analysis on those platforms?
So I would say this is depending on lots of factors.
Yeah.
First of all, the other tools need to have an API, and we need to get access to the API and on database level. And then we have to see, I guess, tool by tool, where they first have to register in the other tool before having access and so on. But this is something one could figure out. So of course you need to have unified single sign-on.
Yep.
Because data is usually restricted to user profiles, user roles, and so on, and we need to adapt to that. But for us, connecting to other databases is not unusual.
Yeah.
What's the preferred coding method on the backside?
Oh, I'm a mechanical engineer. I have zero knowledge. Fabian, do you know?
I do not know.
Are you talking about how is the data stored, or the user
Well, no, 'cause they're
interface?
talking about bringing the data in, and I know what AFPC, what the folks there specifically use, they're not using R or Python, they're using SAS, so that's why I was wondering what they like to use, and then would that potentially mean somebody would have to be trained up on something else
Yeah.
in order to?
I would just say
assist
I'm
or-
tracking what Jan's saying, and there's probably we probably have at least 2 strategies that we're working on. I think what I like about what Jan initially said is just the ability to search in one place and see the results from multiple
That's
places.
huge. That
So
would be
as an
good.
example, we Crowd Vector, Predictable, and Vision are actually all currently hosted
They're all
inside
on
of
second front, so
Second Front.
that's
So
not an issue.
so you already have kind of an underlining
Yeah.
requirement that you could potentially, with those applications giving us permission to look inside of their
Mhm.
data
Yep.
and pull those results back into each search screen.
Yep.
As far as semantic analysis goes, I still think I agree with Jan. You actually have to pull the data together because it has to run some analysis on that.
Yeah.
But we're also looking at a data viz solution that may be able to do a similar thing.
Yeah.
And that solution would also ingest data
Yeah.
into a data lake, and then you would have to set the requirements to have it do certain things.
Yeah.
Their semantic analysis engine is theirs, they've written it, and so
Mm-hmm.
it's doing some things by design. They also have the ability to whitelist and blacklist certain terms so that you can tune
Mhm.
those results to match
Yeah.
your organization's data structure. And if you start taking data from a whole bunch of other places, there is there's some work to be
It's
done
complex.
to make it
Yeah.
kind of spit out
But
results.
that's what
that
we
are
need. We need it
Yeah.
like ASAP,
Yeah.
like yesterday. Yeah.
It's in the works.
Yeah.
But yeah, not as quickly as you're talking.
We got to get that demo with Air Force Data and Mr. Lombardi to help say yes, but he's ready to throw down the money. Like that is so impressive, and the fact that I know it exists is more frustrating that we don't have it at our fingertips yet. I know y'all are pedaling fast, but I cannot stress this enough. Like we need that so much for the department.
Yep.
And last point, just to this topic, I saw that we have done it, I think, for a customer, and you see that we categorize data in the search already, and you could just imagine being it here like vision or whatever it is as an additional category of data. So yeah, it's possible when you figure out the technical hurdles.
Okay.
Good.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
You need to run and catch a flight, right?
Fancy we
Correct.
were in the same place at the same time.